my birthday. I said I did have a birthday.
You did have a birthday.
Happy Sunday and happy birthday, Chloe. And happy Valentine's Day. Well,
I think that's it. You did happy birthday, happy Sunday, and happy Valentine's Day. You want to say have a good week?
have a good week.
Okay. Go play your operation game.
Go play your operation.
No, you go play your operation
No,
game.
you go play your
Go. Alright, we're still on the birthday kick, as you can tell. We haven't had a get-together yet, so he is saying every day is his birthday until we actually have that get-together. But today we're talking, the last guy in our first book is Ebed-Melech, and I'm probably not saying that right, but that's how I'm going to say it. And it's called Beyond the Call of Duty. And it is going to be taken from Jeremiah 37, and then chapters 38, 1 through 13, and chapters 39, 15 through 18. And, hold on just a minute. You need to get in the bedroom. I cannot hear on the video. Go. Sorry, maybe now I can hear myself think. Sorry. Jeremiah was a prophet, and his job was to warn the nation of Judah about the destruction that was coming. And we see that in Jeremiah 1 verse 5. And Judah, last week we talked about the split, the kingdom split. We had 10 and we had 2, and the good kings and the bad kings. This is still that same Judah. This is where Jeremiah was. This is who Jeremiah was prophesying to, talking to, saying, your destruction is coming. Bad things are coming. You all need to turn around. And I guess I never thought about it. We give warnings. I think of my kids, like just now you saw me leave, and that was their warning. That was, okay, go. Mom's online. You got to go. Be quiet. That's the only warning they got, and it was immediate, right? Jeremiah, this lasted for 40 years. 40 years, Jeremiah, day after day after day, is telling these people, destruction's coming, destruction's coming. And I guess that kind of stood out to me because in this day and age, we're thinking immediate. It's going to happen right now. We're going to do it right now. It's coming. When we say it's coming, okay, next week, next month, maybe even a year. But it's coming quickly. This, he had to tell them for 40 years. And all he spoke was doom and gloom. So guess what? He was not well liked. Who wants to be around somebody that is talking about doom and gloom all the time? So he became known as the weeping prophet and the prophet of doom. Not very good names, not a very good reputation, not somebody or something you want to be known for, but this was what God called Jeremiah to do. So for 40 years, doom and gloom, destruction is coming, it's going to happen. So the people ultimately wanted to kill Jeremiah, and King Zedekiah didn't want to deny them this. He didn't want to stand up for Jeremiah. He didn't want to do what was right. So he told the people, do whatever you wish. And we see that in Jeremiah 38, 1 through 4. And that reminded me, when I read this, I automatically thought of Pilate and Jesus. Pilate knew what they were going to do to Jesus was wrong, but he wanted to wash his hands of it. So he said, just go. Just go. Do you want to free Jesus? Do you want to free Barabbas? What do you want to do? And they chose Barabbas. Same situation. King Zedekiah did not want to do his duty. He did not want to go against the people. He did not want to stand up for what was right. So he said, I don't care what you do. It's in your hands. You do whatever you all want. You have my permission to do whatever you want. And we see in verse 5 that ultimately Jeremiah was thrown into the king's cistern. So into Zedekiah's cistern is where Jeremiah was thrown. And they expected him to starve to death. They didn't send down food. The cisterns were dry. They didn't have any water in them. So you're in this nasty, muddy, dark, damp, just stinky hole in the ground. And what are you going to do? You're expected to die, right? That's the whole point. It reminded me of Joseph. What happened to him? They threw them in the well. Did they expect him to survive from the well? No. They expected him to die. Did he die? No. We see God's hand in all of this. So this is where Jeremiah, this is where we're at in the story. I skipped over chapters and chapters and chapters of stuff about Jeremiah. But I did that on purpose because this is where our guy, Ebed-Melech, comes into play. So we've got Jeremiah in this cistern. He's in King Zedekiah's cistern. He's expected to die. And here comes Ebed-Melech, okay? His name means servant. He heard about Jeremiah being in a cistern, and he immediately sought out the king Zedekiah. Immediately. Not a week later, not a month later, oh, next time I go in that direction, I'm going to go to him. The next time I'm in town, I'll think about it. No. Immediately, he stopped what he was doing, and he went to find King Zedekiah. When he found him, he told him exactly how he felt. He didn't pull any punches. He didn't beat around the bush. He told Zedekiah he was wrong. He told him his concern for Jeremiah, how his men acted wickedly, how that shouldn't have happened. Just didn't pull any punches. Blunt is what we would say. Didn't care who was around. Didn't care who heard him, how he said it. He was making his point very clear to Zedekiah. Now again, this is Zedekiah the king. You don't come at a king like that. You just don't. But Ebed-Melech didn't care. He was going to stand up for Jeremiah. So the king, in turn, he listened to Ebed-Melech, and he said, okay, you take 30 men with you. You go and you take 30 men, and you get Jeremiah out of this cistern. You go and you do this. Well, again, it probably didn't take 30 men to put Jeremiah in the cistern. So why do we need 30 men to get Jeremiah out of the cistern? We don't really know what King Zedekiah was up to. But Ebed-Melech went. He went. Maybe King Zedekiah was hoping these 30 men would change his mind. We don't really know why. But he did. I know you have to have a witness. He probably did need some help. But 30 people sounds extreme. But this is what he did. But on the way, Ebed-Melech's like, hey, I got to stop for a minute. We want to stop by this storeroom. To me, in my mind, it's a store, but they didn't have stores back then. But, you know, he had a storeroom. He had a place that he was going to stop. They stopped there, and he got there, and he just grabbed a bunch of old rags. And in my mind, I think of my dad always had rags when he worked on the cars, when he worked outside, when he worked on the lawnmowers, the chainsaws, whatever. We had a bucket of rags. And those buckets of rags were only used for outside. They were the dirtiest rags, the nastiest rags. When they got too dirty, we throw them out and we fill the bucket up again. They may be old t-shirts, they may be undershirts, they may be cloths, they may be old dirty wash rags that, you know, are so worn you can't use them anymore. Whatever it was in this bucket of rags that we had. And that's what is in my mind. It just tells us that Ebed-Melech stopped and got a bunch of old rags. Now you're thinking, okay, what good are these old rags going to do? He got them because that way, when he was thinking ahead, when he goes to Jeremiah's in the cistern, you got to pull up on this rope. Jeremiah's holding on to this rope. You're pulling the rope up to get out of the cistern. He did not want Jeremiah to get rope burn. So he, one by one, put these rags. He didn't drop the rags. He didn't throw the rags down there at him. He didn't send the bucket down or whatever he was carrying these rags with. One by one, he lowered these rags. And there's some theories of this. I read one that said that he didn't throw them because what happens when you throw a rag? It doesn't go straight down. It goes everywhere, right? It doesn't go in the spot that you want it to go in. So they said that might be one reason. Another reason that they didn't just throw them in, he lowered them, is because maybe Jeremiah was weak. Jeremiah had been in the cistern a while. It wasn't like the next day. He didn't have all of his strength. He was weak. He had no food. He had no water. So dropping them down one by one would let Jeremiah get the rag. And then when they're done, they're supposed to go underneath his armpit. So he gets that one situated. He takes his time. He can get it situated and come up. Whereas if you throw it all down there, here it is, hurry up, get on the rope and go. Ebed-Melech was not in a hurry. He wanted to do things right. He wanted to make this as easy as he could on Jeremiah. And so the whole point of stopping and getting these rags was to prevent Jeremiah's rope burn. And that's it. They get him out of the well or out of the cistern, and we don't hear about Ebed-Melech anymore. The only other time is in Jeremiah 39, chapter 15 through 18. And it says, we are told God would protect Ebed-Melech when Jerusalem was destroyed. So in verse 15-18, it reminds me of the story of Rahab. What happens? If you help my people, if you hide my people, what are we going to do? When we come back in to destroy the land, we will save you. Put your red rope outside your window. We know. Just like the Passover lamb. How do we know which doors the death angel's not going to go into. It has the blood on it. Lots of signs here, lots of symbolism. God said, okay, you did this for Jeremiah. I am going to destroy what Jeremiah is prophesying. What he is saying is going to happen will happen. And when it does, I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you and your family because of what he did for Jeremiah. That's all we hear. That's all we hear. Now, we do know that Ebed-Melech was not one of God's people. We do know that he was not of the same kind as Jeremiah. They call him a foreigner. And when I read that, when I was studying that, I thought of the Samaritan. Who helped the Samaritan, thought of the Good Samaritan? Who helped the man on the side of the road? It was the Samaritan. The people that weren't supposed to help this Jew, that weren't supposed to be around him. The last person you thought would come help, and he was the one. Ebed-Melech is the last person you thought would come and help Jeremiah. You thought his own kinsmen, his own country people, his own tribe, his own group of people would help him, and they didn't. They left him in the cistern to die. So there are 5 things, I think, that we're going to learn today from Ebed-Melech. And the first thing is sometimes immediate action is required. Ebed-Melech did not hesitate. We said earlier, we read the verse, and it said he went immediately, when he heard about it, to King Zedekiah. Immediately. He did not wait a week, a month, a year. Oh, I'll get there the next time I go past the king's palace or into town or wherever. He immediately went. As Christians, sometimes we're called to do immediate action. If we see someone in trouble, whether it be physical, spiritual, we need to act. And sometimes it's okay to wait to assess the situation. I'm not saying every time as soon as we see something we need to jump on it immediately. There are some situations you need to assess, get the full story, get everything that's going on before you go into that. But we also have been in times too where someone does need immediate action, where they do need whether intervention or whether they're spiraling out of control, or they come to you and, okay, I'm having this spiritual struggle. I did this, I did something bad, or I'm really struggling in this certain area. Can you explain this? Okay, I'll get to it in a month. I'm too busy right now. You just come get me next quarter and I'll see how. We don't do that. That's what it calls immediate action. Someone comes to you with a problem. We're made aware of a problem. Don't wait, because sometimes it may be too late. So the first thing is sometimes we're called to immediate action. The second thing, Ebed-Melech helped when no one else would. Jeremiah's people, the Israelites, were not there for him, but yet a foreigner was. Sometimes we are placed in a situation where we are the only ones who will speak up, the only ones who will step forward to try to remedy a wrong. Maybe, just maybe, God put us in a particular place at a particular time for a particular reason. Will we take it? And a lot of times we can look back and say, oh yeah, that's why this happened. Or that's why I'm learning from this. That's what. But sometimes God puts us in the right place at the right time for the right reason. We may not know it, but he did. Ebed-Melech was in the right place, acted at the right time for the right reason. Thirdly, Ebed-Melech spoke boldly to the king. He stood up to the king and pointed out all the wrongdoings. Now, a lot of people don't like the finger pointing. We call it criticism today, constructive criticism. Ebed-Melech didn't care. And why would he? He's not part of these people. He doesn't have any ties to the king except that he is the king. But he spoke his mind. He was not scared to stand up for what was right and tell somebody they're wrong. And I think of a lot of times when people say, you know, that was a hard thing to do, but I'm glad I did it. And then the person they told that was wrong, that really was legitimately wrong, that either handled a situation wrong or did something wrong. When you pull them aside and you say, hey, you shouldn't have done this, you should have this, a lot of the times they'll step back, depending on how you say it. They'll step back and say, okay, I see where I was wrong. I should have done this. But it took you stepping up and telling that person, hey, you need to back off. You need to stop. You need to do this. And that's what Ebed-Melech did. He went up. He didn't care he was the king. He went up and told him, hey, you did this wrong. What you're doing is wrong. The fourth thing, Ebed-Melech showed great compassion. Again, we are called to show compassion. Ebed-Melech went above the call of duty. Did he have to bring rags? Did he have to go get Jeremiah's sister? Did he have to go to the king and stand up for what was right? He didn't have to do any of that. He could have just went and pulled Jeremiah up out of that. He could have didn't care if they had rope burn all up his arms, if they scraped him coming out, if they beat him up coming out, if he was beaten and bruised. But he showed compassion. And as Christians, we are commanded to be compassionate just as Ebed-Melech did. And lastly, Ebed-Melech trusted in God and was rewarded for it. This is one of the times we see in the Bible where you see the reward was given. Just like I said in Rahab, what happened? Ebed-Melech's life was spared. He was saved when the city was destroyed. Rahab and her family was saved when the city was destroyed. Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. We have to trust God. Ebed-Melech trusted that God would do what he wanted, what was right. I do not think that Ebed-Melech saved Jeremiah to save his life, to save his own life. I think that's just the type of person he was. He acted on what he knew was right. He knew they were treating Jeremiah wrong, and he did what he thought was right. So in turn, God rewarded him. Now, was his reward immediate? No, it doesn't say Ebed-Melech that they destroyed the city the next day. It doesn't say. So it could have been years down the road. It could have been months. It could have been weeks. It could have happened anytime, but he was given his reward. And God does that. He will give us our reward if we live the life that we are called to live. It may not be a reward that we see in this lifetime because we're wanting the reward in the next life, but God does reward us. The story of Ebed-Melech is one of courage, kindness, and faith in God. He teaches us to reach out to others in compassion in difficult circumstances. God blessed Ebed-Melech for his courageous interference, and he will bless us if we serve him. So that ends the series. I have another book. I think it's called More Unsung Heroes of the Bible. I think that's what I'm going to continue because I've kind of enjoyed this study, and I guess that's a blessing that I have, that since I'm doing the study, I can kind of pick what I'm doing. So, and it makes it easier on me if I'm into the study myself, if it's something that I enjoy doing. I feel like I get more into it and learn more and can share more if it's something that I'm truly interested in. So we will probably continue the next book if it's as good as this book. If not, then I guess next week will be a surprise. So I thank everybody for listening, and I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you here next week.